in connection to this, the new prevention, integration, practice, and science leadership group will be looking at return of investment and looking at.
Commissioners, my name is Francisco. It was everything is fine, kind of a rosy picture. And while she was giving you this report, it's one thing because of the limited time to say something about something and make it look good, but really what I want to tell you is that the public needs to get a report on each of those issues. That's what a real director's report is. And you commissioners should make sure that this report is posted on the internet so that we really know what really is happening. For example, if I brought to your attention, and it's connected with the report, that you commissioners somehow agreed to put a wellness center at 3450 3rd Street, which is one of the most contaminated areas in San Francisco. You agreed to that went before the Board of Supervisors, all because California Pacific Medical Center gave somebody $4 million and the San Francisco 49ers gave $300,000, and y'all agreed to it. However way y'all voted, you will see that if you tie this issue with the director's report, it makes no sense. Why would we want to place a wellness center in the most contaminated place? Thank you very much.
Is there any?
Of the director's report.
Okay.
With the United Public Workers for Action. And first of all, I think that this should be videotaped for the public to know what's going on here. We have the capability in San Francisco to videotape these public hearings. And it seems there's a habit of the city administration not wanting people to know really what these boards are doing. But the reason I'm here speaking is the outrageous retaliation against two doctors here at Laguna Honda Hospital, and the fact that the city is paying out $750,000 of our public money, of the citizens' money, and yet the people who perpetrated the retaliation and the crimes at Laguna Honda are still on the payroll. We want to know why. Why isn't action being taken? Why isn't there transparency? Why isn't there accountability? And furthermore, we just learned today that two lawyers who were whistleblowers at the housing authority have lost their jobs and been laid off, and Henry Alvarez, the director, is staying on the city payroll. So we have to ask, the people of San Francisco have to ask, where is the accountability, and why isn't this corruption and retaliation being dealt with by the city and by these boards? Where are these board members? Have these board members raised the issue of retaliation and bullying of the employees in the Department of Public Health? There's an epidemic of bullying, both at General Hospital and Laguna Honda. Yet they're silenced by the board members, and maybe not because they're appointed to do rubber stamps for the mayor, who hired this bully Henry Alvarez after he knew that he threatened to strangle a city worker in San Antonio where he was working. So we have a bully hiring a bully, apparently. Now, you're going to pay for this. You have accountability and responsibility. And I think the people of San Francisco have a right to expect that their protection of the civil service, protection of whistleblowers is upheld, and that the Ethics Commission and the other commissions in San Francisco, including this one, take their responsibility honestly and defend those public workers who stand up for the public.
Sir.
Thank you.
I have another one for general public comment. Patrick? Yes?
Is this the correct time for comments on Dr. Kerr's situation?
No, this is not the item, sir. This is general public comment on any other item that is not on the calendar.
Thank you.
Yes?
Commissioner Millar, I'm Patrick Minetshaw. I'm here on my own time, and you are not permitted to tell me what I can talk about or not talk about during public comment. In my upcoming article in the West Side Observer, I note that Dr. Kerr's lawyers, Hilton and Stevenson, said, quote, "In our experience, negotiating non-monetary terms as part of a settlement is relatively rare. But here, we believe it's very important that Laguna Honda's administration publicly acknowledge the lies they told about Drs. Kerr and Rivero, as well as acknowledge the extraordinary service the two MDs provided to the community during their long and distinguished careers at Laguna Honda. They went on to provide me graciously with two more quotes. Commenting on the discovery and deposition process, Kerr's lawyer, Edward Copeland, says, quote, "The deceitfulness and small-mindedness exhibited by members of LHH's administration and its HR department was, at times, breathtaking." End quote. As Copeland's law partner, Matt Stevenson, quote, "The city was boxed in by the inconsistent accounts of its own witnesses and the absolute nonsense of some of their testimony on critical issues." End quote. Thank you.
Okay. We are moving to the next item, please.
The next item is the report back from the Finance and
I would like to make public comment, please.
Okay.
I'm Peter Warfield, Executive Director of the Library Users Association, and I'm speaking not as a library users association capacity. There are two things as to my recollection, first time arrival at the Health Commission, and that is under the Sunshine Ordinance, Section 67 of the Administrative Code, you are required to provide 3 minutes under normal circumstances for public comment, and it's very distressing to see that it looks as though your timer is set to 2 minutes. You're cheating the public out of a substantial portion of its right to make public comment when you set this time limit. 3 minutes is specifically mentioned in the Sunshine Ordinance, and I would certainly invite you to review that or discuss it with your city attorney. The other thing is that your agenda appears to have nothing related to Drs. Rivera or Kerr or about a settlement, and I had to hear from somebody who was in the know apparently to learn that it is listed under item 7, which the full item says, for discussion and possible action, LHH update. Under the Sunshine Ordinance, your agenda items are supposed to be informative so that an ordinary member of the public can understand whether they might be interested in coming to observe or to make public comment, and that certainly isn't informative at all. In parentheses, the item says, Mivic Hirose, I'm not sure of the pronunciation, LHH Chief Executive Administrator, close parens. Completely uninformative. So I hope that that is not an example of how you do your business here. Thank you.
All right.
I believe, yes, the next item is the report back from the Finance and Planning Committee.
Okay, Commissioner Chun.
Item 7 is the Laguna Honda Hospital update.
Mr. Rose.
Good afternoon, President Lamara, Commissioners, and Director Garcia. I will give you several updates about Laguna Honda's Hospice and Palliative Care program today. First, the Board of Supervisors last Tuesday approved the settlement in the lawsuit brought against the city by Dr. Derek Kerr. As part of the settlement, the hospital will install a plaque on the South Lee Hospice and Palliative Care neighborhood. The plaque will say, in recognition of Derek Kerr, MD, for his contributions to Laguna Honda in its hospice and palliative care program, 1989 to 2010. Also, as part of the settlement, Laguna Honda's medical director, Dr. Colleen Riley, and Chief of Staff, Dr. Stephen Thompson, provided Dr. Kerr a letter stating as follows. This letter serves to memorialize that 1, Dr. Derek Kerr was respected by his colleagues at Laguna Honda for his skills and accomplishments as a hospice and palliative care physician. and for his work in establishing and running the hospital's hospice and palliative care program. And 2, when Dr. Kerr retired from city service in June 2010, his clinical privileges as a member of the Laguna Honda medical staff expired by operation of the medical staff bylaws and not for reasons related in any way to the quality of medical care he provided to hospital residents. Second, please join me in congratulating the Laguna Honda Hospice and Palliative Care Program, which received a 2013 Leadership Award from the California Coalition for Compassionate Care. The annual award ceremony will be held on April 9th at the Airport Hilton in Burlingame. Laguna Honda will be honored for providing hospice and palliative care to an economically disadvantaged and culturally diverse population. And lastly, the Friends of Laguna Honda has generously provided funds for a gazebo in the South 3 Hospice and Palliative Care Garden. Facility staff are in the process of constructing the gazebo. Families, residents, and staff are very much looking forward to using the new gazebo in the coming summer months. On behalf of Laguna Honda community, I thank the Health Commission and Director Garcia for your support in Laguna Honda in its mission to provide San Franciscans with 5-star rehabilitation and skilled nursing services every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hirose. Okay, we have several speakers, so I will call them in the order that we received the request, and I'll ask you to stand up so that we can move forward. Dr. Kerr, Dr. Maria Rivero, Ashley Better.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. On this very day, 3 years ago, we reported Laguna Honda's looting of the patient gift fund. Today's settlement was not awarded by an emotional jury. It came from hard-nosed city attorneys who tested every pretext, every lie, and every smear used by the defendants to deny their whistleblower retaliation. And our cost-cutting Board of Supervisors approved the award unanimously. That's because the depositions were disastrous to the city, full of untruths, hubris, amnesia, and pitiful contradictions. This retaliation was more than one blunder by one clueless administrator. It was orchestrated over 3 months by a perpetrator, her enablers, and carefully chosen lackeys. Tolerating such reprisals promotes a culture of dishonesty and corruption, where toadies will do anything to get ahead: cheating, lying, bullying, then grasping for awards to conceal their misdeeds. Meanwhile, honest workers are too worried to give from their hearts and too scared to speak the truth. To date, neither Health Director Barbara Garcia nor Health Commission President Sonia Molara have issued any statement affirming the rights of whistleblowers. Your silence indicates that you support incompetence and misconduct. Fortunately, you still have time to reassure the public.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Doctora Maria Rivero. Dr. Kerr and I blew the whistle on misappropriations from the Laguna Honda Patient Gift Fund by Mivic Hirose and her colleagues at Laguna Honda, and tainted Department of Public Health contracts initiated by Dr. Mitchell Katz. Then, after a 20-year career at Laguna Honda, I was bullied and forced out. Dr. Kerr was terminated. The long overdue praise from Mivic Hirose is part of this settlement. Mivic Hirose, Laguna Honda's CEO, has admitted that she made the decision to terminate Dr. Kerr's employment. What is the message that you send when a CEO who retaliated against a whistleblower is still in office? What is the message? The message is that you condone whistleblower retaliation and violation of laws that protect whistleblowers. It shows that you'll accept executives that pilfer public funds donated to the poorest of the poor in violation of a sacred trust. It shows that you condone spending public funds on rigged contracts awarded to cronies. It shows that you will collude with driving ethical and committed workers out of Laguna Honda and replacing them with sycophants who rise to the top because they won't dare discuss problems. It shows that you support a culture of dishonesty and wrongdoing at Laguna Honda Hospital. Mivic Hirose said during one of her depositions that she stood by her decision to terminate Dr. Kerr, who was a dedicated 20-year employee, the attending physician of the renowned Laguna Honda Hospice, and a whistleblower. Mivic Hirose obviously doesn't get it. Please consider this. Thank you.
I am Lynn Carmen. I'm an attorney for the State Public Health.
I'm sorry, sir. You're not Ashley Bayer?
Oh, well, I'm a little deaf, so
No,
I'll speak
the next
when you
speaker was Ashley Bayer or Ruth Tubbs, Lynn Carmen would be the next person.
Good morning or good afternoon. Good afternoon. Professor Emeritus Jeannie Kaiser-Jones of UCSF School of Nursing was unable to come today, but sent a statement, and I'm here in her place.
Your name?
Ashley Bayer. Okay. Professor Kaiser-Jones was a founding director of the Hartford Center of Geriatric Nursing Excellence. She conducted a one-year research project at Laguna Honda Hospice while Dr. Kerr and his team were there, and published a paper entitled A Model Hospice, Care, Community, and Compassion in the journal Geriatric Nursing. Here are Professor Kaiser-Jones' public comments. I remember how Dr. Kerr was so involved in every aspect of the hospice. He would come in on the weekends to plant flowers in the garden. He was involving in choosing the color of the paint in the main lounge. How wonderful it was that he would come in on Friday evenings when they had food and wine. And Dr. Kerr would be there in a tuxedo coat, serving the residents and their visitors. I had never in all my years that I've ever been in healthcare met a physician who cared so much for his patients. I wish I were in San Francisco and could be of more help. I have often said that if I were dying and could not be cared for at home, I would want to be on the Laguna Honda Hospice with Dr. Kerr and Nahid taking care of me.
Thank you. Ruth Tubbs, Lynn Carmen, Vivian, and Brielle. If you could get to the mic before the other person starts, would really help. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ruth Tubbs, and I'm a nursing student at UC San Francisco and a resident of the city. I'm here today to say that I have the utmost respect for both Dr. Kerr and Dr. Rivera and their dedication to the patients at Laguna Honda Hospital. It is sad that two dedicated physicians are no longer serving the patients at Laguna Honda Hospital, that they were retaliated against for standing up for the rights of the patients, and that the Department of Public Health is responsible for all of this wrongdoing. Thank you.
Lynn Carmen, Vivian, and Brielle, and George William.
Okay, good afternoon.
Thank you very much. The commission, please. I'm Lynn Carmen. I represent the State Public Health, which in the past has litigated health issues in Sydney County, San Francisco. And we certainly believe it is fitting that you have memorialized Dr. Kerr as you are doing today. And we thank you for doing that. At the same time, when you memorialize Dr. Kerr, you also memorialize the fact that the theft from the patient's fund has never been punished. And therefore, in other countries, when things like this occur, prime ministers resign. And we think it would be entirely fitting for the CEO, who was on the watch when this occurred and took no steps to punish or bring the perpetrators of the theft to the criminal courts should resign. And we think it also fitting, if that CEO does not resign, that would be fitting for this honorable commission to consider that and to discharge that employee for cause. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Good afternoon. My name is Vivian Imperioli. This was a destructive situation in which everyone at Laguna Honda suffered. Doctors, patients, demoralized staff, and well-intentioned but deceived donors. The system failed to respond appropriately and added insult to injury by removing the complainants. Dr. Derek Kerr is an esteemed physician who set an international model for hospice care by masterminding innovative programming and treating patients with dignity. Dr. Maria Rivera was revered by patients for the home-like, caring setting she created and nourished. It was stunning to see the system's lackadaisical response to the uncovering of misappropriation of funds and other DPH irregularities, and the subsequent retaliation against these dedicated physicians. They should have been lauded for their due diligence, not removed. When they reported findings to the Whistleblowers Program and the Ethics Commission, it was to no avail. The system set them up and betrayed them. In doing so, the system also betrayed our trust. No city employee should have to go to court to seek justice and be vindicated. San Franciscans expect honesty, transparency, and professionalism. Instead, we witnessed a see no evil, speak no evil system that protected the status quo over integrity. That is simply unacceptable.
And September Williams.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is George Boying. I'm the past president of the Western Twin Peaks Central Council and current vice president of the Coalition for San Francisco Neighborhoods. Why I bring this up is because this is not just a health issue. It is not just about the Department of Public Health. This became, in the neighborhoods, an issue of trust. Dr. Derek Kerr and Dr. Romero became very important iconic figures for what they represented. We represent over 100 neighborhood groups that send emails throughout San Francisco, and as this progressed, the neighborhoods got madder and madder at the way the Department of Public Health was handling transparency, the way they were handling whistleblowers, what was going on with the Ethics Commission, the fact that nothing was happening. It led to the basic isolation of Laguna Honda Hospital. There was almost no communication between Laguna Honda Hospital and the neighborhoods. The looting of the patient fund and the firing of both doctors we found repulsive. And as taxpayers, we felt that this only gets worse and worse. It was like lifting up a rock, and these things just kept crawling out. So we're very happy today that the Dr. Kerr and Dr. Rivera can be recognized for the great service they did. And maybe now the neighborhoods can feel more justified in working with the Department of Public Health. We're already reaching out and trying to do more but we still feel that this was a real blemish to the Department of Public Health. Thank you.
I'm sorry, your name? September Williams. Where's Steve Nihar? Left? Okay, September, it's your turn.
My name is September Williams. I'm a physician bioethicist who has worked in public and international medicine for 25 years. For the years from 2005 to 2011, it was my honor to serve the sickest and poorest people in the city and county of San Francisco at Laguna Honda as a physician and as a bioethicist. I was on the bioethics committee at Laguna Honda Hospital when the incidents that resulted in the loss of Dr. Rivera and Dr. Kerr happened, and no longer work there myself. Being put in a position where you have to become or support a whistleblower sucks. There's no word yet in English for that, and we should probably develop one. This is no one's dream. I don't think that Maria or Dr. Kerr went to medical school hoping that they would be doing this. It is the nature of human progress that moral intuition doesn't strike all people at the same time. Dr. Kerr's moral intuition is highly tooled. It's probably the result of 21 years of working intimately with dying people who, through their vulnerability, push the boundaries of clinical ethics and make you daily think about ethical issues. Though at a variable rate of acquisition, it is still within each and every one of us to tell when there is an eyebrow-raising event heralding an ethical conflict. Our systems of governance in public medicine need to encourage the acquisition of organized moral reasoning skills, to which administrative manipulation may be subservient. You have to learn how to recognize and not suppress when you know there is something ethically wrong. And when you practice medicine, there you go.
Patrick Mont and Peter Buxton.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Nahi. I am the former hospital manager who worked at Laguna around 21 years. So I got retired, early retirement, in May of 2010. I couldn't tolerate the forced bullying and working with the heart and being at the side of Dr. Satan and Dr. Kerr for taking care of the dying people. So I want to congratulate Dr. Kerr fearlessness that I wish I had that in me, which I didn't. So I just want everybody knows that as a hospice nurse and nurse who worked 41 years, 20 in Iran and 21 years here. Here when I came, I thought everything was way better in my country, but unfortunately it's no corruption that I see here in my country. And then one of the things that I am so upset about it is that the corrupting people on the top at Laguna Honda who are really bullying people are being supported by the people who are over there. So it means the corruption is very deep. Thank you.
Peter Broxton and Matthew Stevens.
Good afternoon, fellow citizens. I've been involved in hospice work for over 20 years. First as a volunteer, and for the past 15 years as an RN hospice home visit case manager. And it was as a volunteer that I first met Dr. Kerr when I was one of the first graduates of the Zen Hospice Training Program and one of the first volunteers at the newly opened Laguna Honda Hospice Unit. The lives and deaths of tens of thousands of people have been touched by the work of this remarkable man. He established an approach of bringing respect, care, compassion, and laughter into the lives of those approaching death, both patients and their loved ones, especially the less fortunate. The early days of the AIDS epidemic were particularly challenging as a younger generation, unprepared for dealing with premature death, were confronted by their mortality. Dr. Kerr was one of the first medical professionals to open the door to that dark and scary room and step inside. True heroes are those who lead by example, and Dr. Kerr is one of those. Directly or indirectly, countless caregivers, professional and volunteer, have also benefited from the works of this man, and I was fortunate enough to have been one of them. And I appreciate this opportunity to add my voice to that of the others who have come to express their love, gratitude, and respect, and I know I also speak for many of my colleagues who were unable to attend. This city lost one of its treasures when Dr. Kerr, quote, retired from public service. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said of those who orchestrated his departure. I thank the city for finally acknowledging the rightness of his cause and the debt that we all owe him. May all beings live in peace and die in comfort.
Thank you. Matthew Stevens, Laura Stillman.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Peter Buxton, a resident of San Francisco for nearly 50 years. I'm quite an outsider to all that has gone on here, but I've read and I've heard from friends the stories of the 3 years that you were dealing with here. I just want to thank the people that have spoken, who have given their testimony to what happened here. I endorse what I've heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew Stevens, Laura Stillman, and Patrick Lynette Shaw.
My name is Matt Stevenson. I'm one of the attorneys that represent Dr. Kerr, so I had an inside view of all this. And I want to try to draw your attention to a couple of practical things. There's been a lot of comment about the extraordinary nature of these two doctors. If you've listened at all, you would realize that these people are a gift to the city. And it's a terrible loss. It's a terrible loss to them. It's a terrible loss to you all. It's a terrible loss to all the people who would be served by them. That much is very important. But there's something that can be done about this. I sat there and I watched Mivic Hirose's testimony and the nonsense of it. I sat there and watched witnesses try to cover up for each other. I don't want to be hyperbolic, and I don't even want to be necessarily argumentative, but there's a way for you to find out what happened. There are documents in front of the court that are not argument, they're not lawyer-driven, they're just an account of the testimony that was given by your witnesses, the people that you have continued to hire, compared against the documents and the other witnesses that still work for you. And they reveal an obvious duplicity and a mean-spiritedness, and you can do something about that. It's a terrible shame not to. So Dr. Kerr was literally one of the most extraordinary people I have ever met. It was an honor to represent him. It's an honor to the city that he worked for so long. And I think you owe it as an honor to the gift that he gave you to take a look at this. And if I don't know what should be done, and I don't doubt your commitment to public service. I herald you for doing the job that you're doing, and I have faith that you would take the right action if you knew the facts. If those facts are there, you can look at them. Something should be done. All right? Thanks.
Patrick Lynette Shaw, and Sherry Mountsaw.
I'm Laura Stillman, and I have the honor and the privilege of being a hospice volunteer under Dr. Kerr. I signed up for a year and stayed for 5. He was such an inspiring leader, and the loving community that he created there, so inclusive of the whole hospice team. And I see all the hospice team here in support of Dr. Kerr. That's the social worker, the activities director, the nursing director, other volunteers, the chaplain. All of us were included in the caring of the patients and the planning for the patients, or the residents as they were called. It was a loving environment which enabled people to actually thrive and blossom and flourish and then die with dignity. And those are words, die with dignity, that you often hear, but this actually became a reality there. And it was an inspiring experience. I know that all of the residents loved Dr. Kerr dearly. It was so much more than an injustice to Dr. Kerr, but it was such a great loss to the community that he served.
And Dr. Barry Kerr, come up.
I'm Patrick Manette Shaw, here on my own time. It's a civic duty to exercise First Amendment rights to free speech. You know, the very free speech rights that LHH has used twice to fire Dr. Ulrich in 1998, and 22 years later, Dr. Kerr in 2010. First Amendment lightning has struck LHH twice, resulting in wrongful termination and retaliation against 2 fine positions, costing over $2 million between both cases. Laughably, the city argued Kerr's speech wasn't protected by the First Amendment because it didn't, quote, address matters of public concern, end quote, as if the raise of patient funds didn't concern public donors. Much of the city's defense regarding Kerr's termination were pretexts manufactured to justify his termination, but were actually pretexts for Hirose retaliation against him. During last week's JCC meeting, Mivic Hirose openly smirked while Kerr was presenting testimony about the requirement to provide ethics training to Laguna Honda's executive committee. As Dr. Rivero said, Hirose simply doesn't get the gravity of her actions. The defendant's pretext that Hirose was innocent is over. She's cost taxpayers over $1 million between Kerr's settlement and the $350,000 ordered restored to the patient gift fund. Hirose has surpassed her Peters principle. The Health Commission and Ms. Barbara Garcia, Director of Public Health, should terminate Hirose, as Mr. Lynn Carmen recommended to you. It's the only ethical thing to do. Get rid of her.
Very much, Dr. Carmack and Hildegard Ford.
My name is Sherry Meltzer. Thank you, Commissioners. Dr. Kerr approached every day of his job with an objective. Am I consistent with this objective? Am I meeting this objective? His objective was to provide quality care. And yes, he did meet that, and then some. This objective should have been the focus for all of Laguna Honda administrators, but alas, appeared not to be the case. The retaliation taken by such administrators to dismiss Dr. Kerr only occurred after he brought to light certain improprieties in the management of the LHH gift fund, a fund that was to be for the benefit of the residents, but was instead used for other purposes. If city bureaucrats only did this one simple thing, focus on the core objective, this could have been avoided. In the first place, the gift fund would not have been misused. Residents would not have gone without. Respected doctors would not have had to uncover such shenanigans, and because they did so, been shunned and then dismissed. Administrators would not be embarrassed to the point of having to make a public apology. And last but not least, the city would not have incurred this rather large settlement expense. Can we please use this case as a reminder?
I first met Dr. Kerr in 2002 when I had a sabbatical on the hospice unit of Laguna Honda Hospital. At that time, I knew him to be a man of compassion, integrity, caring, and professionalism. I learned about compassion and caring from Dr. Kerr and the others on the hospice staff, as well as from the volunteers. I learned what it means to truly care for the vulnerable. So I'm not surprised that today we are acknowledging Dr. Kerr in this way. To me, he has consistently continued to exemplify integrity, caring, passion and professionalism and courage. I had the utmost respect for him and the way that he saw something that wasn't right and had the courage to do the right thing. He had the courage to stand up for his convictions. He did the right thing by speaking for those who couldn't. Dr. Jean Watson, a nursing scholar, wrote, "Caring is a moral idea for the protection and enhancement of human dignity." I affirm Dr. Kerr and his moral compass. I affirm him and the values he has that have allowed him to take this incredibly challenging path. I'm grateful to Dr. Kerr for reminding me of the importance of having a strong moral compass from which one seeks his or her direction in life. In our lives, some of us are fortunate to cross paths with those who remind us what really matters in this world. Dr. Kerr has been just a person for me.
Jeannie Bray.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Director Garcia. I'm very pleased to be here this afternoon as you speak of honoring Dr. Derek Kerr. No one is more deserving except Dr. Maria Rivero. My first introduction to Dr. Kerr was in 2010. As a member of the civil grand jury, my fellow jurors and I probed the situation surrounding Laguna Honda Hospital and Drs. Kerr and Rivero. The grand jury was appalled by the egregious misconduct of this department's former executive director and some member of Laguna Honda's hospital administrative staff. Dr. Kerr and Dr. Maria Rivero spent over 20 years each dedicating themselves to caring for the less fortunate among us. During their time at Laguna Honda Hospital, Dr. Kerr and Rivero witnessed serious wrongdoings and courageously tried to right them. As with most heroic deeds, there comes personal sacrifice. Most fittingly today, you acknowledge Dr. Kerr for his wonderful contributions to Laguna Honda Hospital and the community of San Francisco through his skill as a fine physician. But we must also acknowledge Dr. Kerr and Dr. Maria Rivero for their high moral character, which set them apart from many of their colleagues. A San Francisco Examiner reporter recently wrote, "Laguna Honda Hospital will never forget Dr. Derek Kerr, ever." Let's hope not, for if they did, it would just be one more act of conduct unbecoming to Laguna Honda Hospital's history. Thank you.
Paul Kelly.
Good afternoon, everybody. I had the extraordinary experience of working on the hospice since the beginning, and it became a church to me. It was my spiritual practice, and Dr. Kerr and all my colleagues there touched such beauty that I cannot ever really bring forth at this moment. It was the most beautiful experience of my life, and working with Dr. Kerr and my colleagues was probably the greatest thing I've ever done. And then it went supernova, and we all landed on different places. I'm still working hard, and good things still happen, but what we had was so beautiful. One of the things that broke my heart really was we never got to say goodbye. It just went away. And I know towards the end, I said, "So Dr. Kerr, what are you going to do when you're done?" "Well, maybe I'll be an interior decorator." Something. He expected 2 miracles a week, and often there were much more. But I just want to go back to that time when I realized that we just said goodbye, and I just really want to thank you, Dr. Kerr, Maria, my colleagues. You're my mentors, and I love you, and I'll never forget the beauty that was Laguna Honda Hospice, address C2. We touched something that was untouchable. God bless you all. Thank you.
Jeannie Bray, Francisco da Costa, James Kenneth Kerr.
Good afternoon. It's Janine Bray, and I was privileged to work at Laguna Honda for 18 years as a recreation therapist. And the last 10 years, I was blessed to work on hospice, on C2. And while I got to work with many doctors who were caring and compassionate at Laguna Honda, the person, the doctor with the most integrity, the most caring, and the most all-inclusive spirit was Derek Kerr. I'm so blessed, as I've now retired, to work there and been immersed in that sacred container that he helped create. It was the most wonderful experience in my life, I can say, without reservation. And I thank you, Derek, for that opportunity, and my other colleagues and the Zen Hospice volunteers. When he was terminated in 2010, I know all of us kept going, but really, the soul, the intelligence of the hospice was gone, and it has never recovered. Thank you for acknowledging him and for giving us all the opportunity to say these things.
Commissioners, my name is Francisco da Costa. We have here two stellar doctors, Dr. Kerr and Dr. Rivera. Dr. Kerr and Dr. Rivera. And the injustice that was done by this city has to be righted. Not by a plaque, not by some rosy words, but by deeds. This is the city of St. Francis of Assisi, the city of compassion. And as doctors, and I have many doctors in my family, going 600 years, 600 years, doctor, you have to have a heart. And I've been watching y'all. And I can see from the expression who has a heart and who does not have a heart. Dr. Kerr, I watched you because I watched you through the proceedings. And I want you to write a book. How you shed light where there was abject darkness. Because too many people at every level have suffered in San Francisco. Doctors, there's a fund for the indigent, for the poor. And the corrupt, they dip into that fund, deprive the poor, and y'all think it's all well. I know Dr. Katz too well. And I know some of y'all too well. And all I need is probable cause to run a rap sheet on those that deserve that a rap sheet be run and expose y'all. Dr. Kerr, thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, sir.
And Dr. Rivera too.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you.
James Kenneth Perry, Sarah Larson, and Teresa Palmer. Dr. Teresa Palmer.
Well, my name is James. My name is James Kenneth Kerr. I work at the Behavioral Health Center at San Francisco General Hospital. I am here in support of my friends and colleagues, Dr. Kerr and Dr. Rivera. Congratulations and thank you for your support, for your services. Sorry that you had to be recognized under these conditions. I apologize. You should have gotten it without this being forced upon you. I would like to make this short and just say I would like to ask the commissioners, Dr. Robert Garcia and Mr. Kerr, that you get on board with bullying and support people in anti-bullying campaigns. It is widespread throughout the city. I am a product of that. I spoke at a rally earlier this month, and the bullying has gotten worse. Totally unnecessary. They have even called my landlord to try to get me evicted. So please, stop the bullying.
Hi, my name is Sarah Larson. I also work at the Behavioral Health Facility at San Francisco General Hospital. I've worked there since before the facility opened for 16 years. I first met Dr. Kerr when I first moved to the city. I was able to volunteer at Laguna Honda Hospice, and I was really touched and moved by the humane treatment and the home-like atmosphere. And it was just such a beautiful place. I couldn't believe that this was a city hospital. Since that time, I started working at the Behavioral Health Facility and trying to use this for personal reasons. We, as a behavioral health facility, we're treated like we're a backboard. I don't understand. We have the same two vans we've had for 15 years. When I finally had the opportunity to take a tour of the new Laguna Honda Hospital, I was just staggered by the resources that they had. And I have to give Mivic some credit because I had to go through my boss and my boss's boss and my boss's boss, boss's boss's boss, to finally get them to agree to them loaning one of their wonderful wheelchair vans so we could take our patients out. We have, our patients are really kind of the bottom of the barrel that no facility wants to take. And once they come into our facility, if they're in a wheelchair, which half of them are, nobody gets to go anywhere. And the more I fight for quality of life, the more I fight for psychosocial rehab, which was what I was hired to do, the more isolated and retaliated against I am. It's run like a nursing home, and they only care about, nursing care. There's no psych happening. We can't keep a psychiatrist.
Thank you.
And I don't know. I'm sorry, I have to finish this because I finally got permission to use a van.
I'm sorry,
I took my patients out for 4 months, and I came to a screeching halt. Well, supposedly I have 3 minutes.
No, you don't. Everybody has had 2 minutes, so you only have 2 minutes.
I would just like
Please.
to know.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, give mine.
Teresa Palmer, Michael Lyon, I believe, and Anonymous 4223.
Hi, my name is Teresa Palmer. I'm a longtime San Francisco resident, and I'm also a family practitioner and geriatrician. I worked at Laguna Honda for 15 years, side by side with Dr. Kerr and Maria Rivero. Dr. Kerr is a Harvard-trained oncologist who got his certified nursing assistant degree so he would better understand direct nursing caregiving. Maria Rivero was trained in surgery, then worked at Laguna Honda for a few years, and then went back to finish her internal medicine training at Highland Hospital, became chief resident, spent an extra year at Highland Hospital being head of the residents at Highland Hospital, and shortly after that returned to Laguna Honda. Both of them were seniors to me and were my mentors, and I can't tell you how much I learned from them and how accessible they were to me on a day-to-day basis to teach me about difficult cases. They were the angels in God's hotel. And I want to say to you, Mrs. Garcia, and to Mivic Hirose, shame on you. Shame on you for stealing these wonderful professionals from the people of San Francisco.
Michael and I are great Panthers.
honor them and celebrate them for other work that they did. And that was the work to keep Laguna Honda open as a nursing home for frail seniors. They did this work not only by themselves, but with a huge number of other doctors and health workers and community people. And all of the disgusting, corrupt kinds of things that we saw going on with the firing of these two docs, that was just a crystallization of the whole process by which Laguna Honda was eliminated as a nursing home for indigent San Francisco people. And today we've made a certain amount of progress in undoing the dishonor and the injustice that was done to these two docs. But we still have ahead of us the fight to have enough nursing home beds in San Francisco so that people, indigents who need that kind of care, can stay here.
Nancy Werfeld, Tony Paul, and Ray Hartz or Warts. I can't read this one.
Yes, good afternoon. Actually, I didn't expect to be here today, so I didn't prepare remarks. But it'll be a cold day when I'm not able to speak extemporaneously about this important subject. I guess there can't be too much testimony about the personal heroism of Dr. Kerr and Dr. Rivera. I guess there also can't be too much public testimony about the distortion that private money causes in our professionalism and in our ethics, for lack of a better word. The importance that we maintain standards and that distortion does not happen. But there are two other things that need to be highlighted. First of all, this case underlines and is shocking to everyone to see the poverty that it revealed in the whistleblower program and the whistleblower protections and the Ethics Commission and all of the other things that should have been part of that backslide and failed Dr. Kerr and really failed the city. The other point is that we forget that whistleblowing itself is supposed to be a backstop. Management is supposed to be able to address internally issues like this, issues having to do with proper performance. That's what management is. And we forget that if you don't have a management that can address internally issues like this, you don't have management at all. And in fact, heads should roll if there are not actions and procedures in place to make sure this doesn't happen from the management point of view itself. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I am Nancy Werfel. I am retired from having worked for 22 years at San Francisco General Hospital during my 35 years of service with the University of California, San Francisco. When Dr. Kerr was fired, it was the dying patients at Laguna Honda who paid the ultimate price for the loss of services of Dr. Kerr. Dr. Rivero's dedication to her patients had also been denied to this fragile population. The two careers of outstanding physicians have been terminated in their prime. Why did this happen? Retaliation for reporting wrongdoings of the Department of Public Health required payback for speaking out. That's what happened. Where was this commission while all of this was going on? Yes, I know other city departments were in charge of investigations, finding blame or not finding blame, adjudication, or just dealing with the problem. I get that. What I do not get is, where were you? Where was your hearing on the allegations by the physicians on the city hospital? That's your job. The charter gives you commissioners the power to hold hearings and take testimony and conduct investigations into any aspect of the government operations within this jurisdiction. I just read the charter. You are responsible for the largest budget of any city department, almost $1.6 billion this year. When you don't care about the fraud happening at Laguna Honda, it tells me that you're not properly watching over the most enormous budget of the city that you do control. Let me be clear, I do not begrudge you any of this funding, but I do hold you responsible for the proper administration of every single dime. You need to know that I want integrity and courage from you to do your job as these two doctors did their job to expose the bad practices. You have the power. Please use it to prevent from ever happening again the destruction of any more careers or the loss of public confidence in our democratic system. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Tony Hall, the former supervisor from District 7, where Laguna Honda is located. For many years, as the supervisor from that district, I witnessed the outstanding work done by two people who I have great admiration for, Dr. Kerr, Dr. Maria Rivera. For two people like them who have dedicated their lives to helping others to be subject to such a travesty as we've witnessed the last couple of years here in the city and county of San Francisco. The blame goes with incompetent, corrupt, deceitful administrators, an ethics commission comprised of nothing but political clowns, and you people who sat there and watched it unfold. As a former supervisor, I can only say I hope that you are really and truly ashamed of yourselves. You should have stepped in a long time ago and stopped this. The reputations of two people have been soiled, but it's been restored. No thanks to you people. No thanks to you people. Thanks to their integrity and the fight that they prevailed, that they put up with the last couple of years. You should be ashamed of yourselves, and this should never happen again. And I can tell you this, if any of you were ever involved in any type of a cover-up again, I will lead a charge in this city to have you held responsible.
Howard Chapner is the last one I have, so.
Commissioners Ray Hartz, Director, San Francisco Open Government. At first, before I start into my comment, I want to place the members of this commission on notice that under the Sunshine Ordinance, no member of the public is required to identify themselves. If you ask them to do so, you must make it clear they are not required to do so. And all speaker cards are strictly voluntary, and they must state that you are not required to fill out a speaker card to make public comment. Now, I know Drs. Kerr and Rivera, and I know there are intelligent people who knew full well when they went to blow the whistle that there was a chance that the retaliation would be forthcoming. I'm sure that they made every effort to work through channels to try to address these issues before they put themselves in that position. Sure enough, they took the whistleblowers program, and instead of having the integrity of Drs. Kerr and Rivera in handling it appropriately, the administrative staff chose to retaliate by firing them. Then they chose to handle it in a way that sent a clear message to every employee of the public health system and the city and county of San Francisco that if you speak up for something that's wrong, no one is going to protect you, and we will do our best to not only ruin you, but to prove that you're not employable anywhere else. I think Drs. Kerr and Rivera deserve a lot of appreciation for their courage in fighting this fight, not only for themselves, but for other members of the civil service of this city who identify problems and want to come forward to them, knowing, as the previous speaker said, that they won't get support from the department or from this commission.
Douglas, yeah. Last speaker.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Howard Chapman. Drs. Kerr and Rivera are heroes. My late mother-in-law lived in Laguna Honda for many years. Dr. Rivera was the ward doctor, the unit doctor in her unit the last several years of her life. and really helped to make those years as good as they could be. And although she was never in the hospice, our family came to know and admire Dr. Kerr and his work. During a 20-plus year career for both of them, their compassion, empathy, medical skill, resourcefulness, and dry wit, and sometimes in the case of Dr. Kerr, dry martini as well, helped many thousands, if not many hundreds, if not thousands of people and their loved ones face life and then death with dignity, comfort, courage, grace, companionship, and peace. When they became aware of financial improprieties and conflicts of interest, they risked their careers to dig deeper and expose them. For this, Dr. Kerr was fired, and Dr. Rivera was pushed out. Their allegations have proved correct. They've been vindicated. Dr. Kerr will receive a modest amount of compensation for what he has been put through, but really nothing, no amount of compensation could really compensate for what both of them have been through. But the bottom line is that Laguna Honda, its residents, their families, and all of San Francisco have lost the services of two great doctors and ethical, courageous people. This should not have happened, and it's up to you not only to make sure that never happens again, but to hold responsible those who let it happen. And by your statements or lack of statements after public comment on this, I think people will see where you stand. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Douglas Yep. I've lived in San Francisco for 61 years. I agree with the previous speakers. Shame on the corrupt members of the Department of Public Health. In my opinion, there's plenty of them. For the record, in my opinion, supervisors Sean Ellsburn and Carmen Chu, in my opinion, delayed any investigation into the situation at Laguna Honda Hospital. In my opinion, Controller Ben Rosenfield should be subpoenaed, even by the federal government, to speak what he knows about the whistleblower program, which was severely criticized by the civil grand jury last year. I have a suggestion for the two heroic doctors. If you really want to help the poor people in San Francisco, try investigating what had happened at San Francisco General Hospital. Namely, 1999, suspicious death of an eligibility gay man, which the city, in my opinion, actively covers up every single day. Secondly, SEIU labor rep found dead under suspicious circumstances after a so-called wildcat strike. For the record, Dr. John Ulrich was originally given a lot more than $1 million by a court decision. So this is nothing new. All I have to say is that, in my opinion, you need to do the right thing, and you have to remember, a guilty conscience is very hard to live with every day of your life, and one has to worry about the wrath of God after you pass away.
Are there any other public comments?
Hear that, Mike?
Sir, let's keep it at a professional level, please. Yes. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Peter Warfield. First of all, I want to say that Dr. Kerr and Dr. Rivera are treasures for the city and for all of the public for their tremendous effort and sadly for the high cost of it. Certainly I agree with many of the comments that came before, and it's quite moving to hear the direct testimony of folks who have worked with and known the doctors in their professional and personal lives. But there is something more than just today, and that is you can take actions to improve matters and to some degree to remedy some of the wrongs that have occurred. And every day you don't take actions, you continue another day of an ongoing injustice. A signal to the public that bad actions will be brushed under the rug. Your agenda item here says nothing about the $750,000, says nothing about the plaque, it says nothing about the basically monetary or non-monetary settlement or anything in fact about it. And that's sweeping it under the rug today. And your 2-minute time limit is unlawful under sunshine. I asked you to consult with your city attorney or to look into it, and you did not do so earlier. You've cheated the public from their 3 minutes that they're entitled to under the law. But every day that you do nothing, you perpetuate the injustice, and you can do something about that. Thank you.
Any other public comments at this point?
Good afternoon. My name is Hal Smith. I was on the civil grand jury 3 years ago. Had the opportunity to meet Dr. Kerr and Dr. Rivero. I'm honored to be here to be part of their honoring ceremony. I'm sad for the Department of Public Health that got to go through this, sad for Laguna Honda, sad for the patients of Laguna Honda, and sad for the doctors who've lost their careers. I think all of us in our professional career, in our personal career, come to points in which we have to make decisions, and those decisions are difficult moral decisions, the difference between right and wrong, and the consequences that come from those decisions. Dr. Kerr, Dr. Rivero made that decision, made those difficult decisions. It's not easy to be a whistleblower. You know that. You've seen it. You've seen others who've gone through that process. So we've all lost a great deal with these doctors leaving. I think the only winner is the whistleblowers of today who have a role model now. A role model who can help them navigate through the burdensome nonsense of the whistleblower system in San Francisco, whether it be the Ethics Commission, whether it be the Sunshine Task Ordinance, whatever it happens to be. At least Dr. Rivero and Dr. Kerr will be there to help those people, since they can no longer help the lowest and the most disadvantaged in the city. I ask you to take any kind of action that will rectify the situation of the past. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, this item is closed for public comment. Commissioners, are there any comments on your part? On this side? This side? None? Thank you. Thank you for everyone for being here, and thank you very much.
The next item is item 8, public health duties. The presentation for item 8 and 9 will be combined.
What?
The presentations for items 8 and 9 will be combined.
Okay.
Will be